You were here with By the Cover. Today we're going to be reviewing The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. This book was 558 pages and took me 7 days to read. I would rate this book a 3.5 out of 10. This review will contain spoilers, so if you don't want to hear any of that, click off now. Tommyknockers for me is an extremely rough one to review. Going into reading it, I really wanted to love it. You see, this one's nostalgic for me. I watched the miniseries when it was on TV when I was about 7 or 8, and it scared the living crap out of me. It had a lot of memorable imagery and moments in that miniseries that I'll never forget. It was an iconic part of my childhood. Some things I remember from the miniseries: the abundance of glowing green lights, the doll scene with Ruth, the kids performing the magic trick and one of them disappearing, all of the different gadgets that the townsfolk were creating, the Coke machine scene, which made me eye vending machines every time I used them from then on out. And it is noteworthy that the vending machine scene in the movie is far different than the book, and I actually thought the miniseries did a better job with that. And then all of the shed scenes in that miniseries were also terrifying. Going into this book, I really wanted to love it. Unfortunately, after reading the book, I give kudos to the showrunners of the miniseries for making that as entertaining as they did and having it follow some kind of coherent narrative. There are some things that they changed for the better and were pretty creative with it. But the book, as much as I wanted to love it, I just can't. There are some great things in the book though, so I'll start out with what I liked first. Overall, I liked about 195 pages out of the 558 pages that were in this book, so that works out to about 35% of the book that I liked. Bobby and Jim actually meet up and start having some chemistry together and working together. I like that part of the book. I love the entire Becca Paulson section of the book with her husband. I did like the David and Hilly story, but it was more drawn out than it needed to be. I really liked the Ev and Butch section of this book, which was about 41 pages long. I also liked when Bobby and Guard got back together after Bobby's accident. Anything to do with the shed was awesome. It was pure nightmare fuel. Inside the ship was a little bit entertaining. The Coke machine, quite honestly, I just love that because it's so batshit off the wall. But I did prefer the miniseries version. And I just laughed my ass off at any scene the Coke machine was in. I thought the Bobby Guard conclusion was pretty good. When the tour crew meets their end, I thought that was pretty good. I liked the Hilly and David conclusion at the end. Things I hated: 65% of this book. Up to page 102, dealing with Bobby and Jim separately. Neither of these characters are really fun on their own. Basically just equates to a lot of rambling inside their own heads. There is a over 20-page section of this first part where Jim Gardner just goes off on nuclear weapons, and he just goes on and on. Over 20 pages of this about nukes. I don't care. No one cares. I don't understand why Stephen King felt the need to put that in. It was very boring for the first 102 pages of this book. The next section I really did not like was the Ruth section, and it's not because the Ruth section is a completely bad section of the story, but Stephen King gives away what happens to Ruth right from the beginning of that part. So you're killing any suspense that leads up to her death. He just lets you know she died. Okay, now we're going to tell you how. I'm not going to invest in a character I know is already dead. Stephen King does that a lot, I've found, and I absolutely hate it. Quit giving away the ending at the beginning of the sections. There was an entire section, a pretty long one, on town history, which was boring and not necessary. I don't think Stephen King uses New Haven in any other book, so who cares? There was a lot of digging in this book. From page around 330 to 370, it was pretty much Guard digging with the townsfolk. The entire section with Bobby's sister seeking her out was boring. The section where Bobby and Jim were digging was boring. The entire section with the news reporters and getting the scoop was boring. And the ending wasn't the greatest either. Overall, this book was mostly slog for me, but it was still iconic. The book that this gets grouped in with a lot is Dreamcatcher. Every time I've looked at lists of the worst Stephen King books, Dreamcatcher and Tommyknockers are among the lowest rated ones. And for me, I didn't want to like Dreamcatcher. I remembered seeing the movie and I didn't like the movie, so I was fully expecting to hate Dreamcatcher a lot more than Tommyknockers, and I actually loved Dreamcatcher. For the most part, that book was great. Just goes to show you how assumptions can be wrong. That's about it. We'll catch you later.